The following is a special presentation of the PDF Sports Network.
Hey, what's going on? What it do? Hey, there you go. All right, so good morning. We got time for Anthony's soccer game and Cecilia's softball game today. That's what's taken up most of my time lately to get our weekly talk in. Did the pregame show yesterday, got the spreads out there. I noticed that there was definitely commentary about the over-under on a game being way off, which is cool, but I was a point off of the actual score. The point off the spread. So, come on, y'all. Give a brother a break. All right, so something went wrong. Oh, it's my connection. Let's try it again, shall we? Say good morning to everybody. Hope everybody's having an awesome morning. Wi-Fi is not connected on this thing, that's why. BD. What are we doing? Nope, that's not it. So, we got some things to talk about. But of course, just like yesterday, of course, why would I be able to pull this thing off flawlessly when we get some technical difficulty? So we'll get online in a second. So everybody's doing it absolutely awesome. Had a great conversation. Get a chance, and I'll send it over to PDF to check out our conversation with Coach Crow yesterday from the Sunshine Bowl / MLF Fall League. Absolutely awesome conversation until I got a phone call and then kind of cut it. Well, that didn't cut it short because I was going to wrap up anyway. So that was an absolute great conversation. What are we doing? Dun, 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 dun. All right. Give me a second. Let me link up everything, and then we'll take it from there. If not, I might just have to reboot if this is going to be acting funny today. Give me a second. Oh, we're really acting foolish today. Boom. Got it. Good morning, sir. Need data mode. Try again. Hope everything's well. What's up? Grave diggers. Talk to me. What happened yesterday? Why are we not playing football? That's disappointing. I will hold off on judgment until being told otherwise, but not having a field is what I was told. And since the Gravediggers did not have a field, they had to forfeit a game against a team that they should easily have won. So definitely not a good look for any league or team to be not playing games. So we definitely want to avoid that. But I'll give you a chance in the comments to explain, or you can come on really quickly to explain, because the show is going to be quick. I'm going to update scores and upcoming schedule, a little bit of analysis, and then we are going to move on to next week. So good morning to my New England folk. Again, great conversation yesterday with Coach Crow. Make sure you check that out, because laid out the Nationals picture, kind of like what it takes to be part of Nationals, and what they're looking for, along with just the overall map in general when it comes to semi-pro football. So good morning, everybody. Semi-pro HQ, PA, Semi-Pro Talk, the network, Sports Center, and then MLF Elite Lounge. Again, good morning, MLF Elite Lounge. Make sure you check out yesterday's show. Coach Crow was on. Great discussion about what's going on. So, awesome. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go to what happened yesterday. So, EFA had 2 games on the schedule, and both of the games were not really going to be all that exciting to begin with, but then it turned worse as the Connecticut Tar Heels, with a win over the New Jersey or the Patterson Gravediggers, by a score of 2-0 because of a field issue. So, again, back end of the schedule, you want to be playing good football, and overall, just for the well-being of leagues. And I know that there's not many leagues left, and there's not many teams left. So I guess as far as the competitive level of being able to get away with doing this type of stuff is easier now than when there's 16 teams in a league or 20 teams in a league. But games have got to be played, and for the Gravediggers to take a loss to the Connecticut Tar Heels over paperwork is just not a good look. So, again, when you ask for see my stuff back there. Big shout out to Rumble Juice, by the way. This point of the season, again, not only do you hurt yourselves because you look terrible not being able to get a football field to play on when you're a football team, but you're also not helping out the team that you're playing because Connecticut Tar Heels have had a very tough season. They could have gotten their first win last week, but got another. I'll put it right here. All my Mets fans, by the way, little Hello Kitty stuff. You could have got their first win last week, but didn't because of another forfeit. Just too many forfeits, too many games not being played. And again, in a season that was very tough to begin with in terms of excitement, it makes it a lot less. In the other game, the Demon Knights took on the Kingston Lions, and from what I heard about this one, not confirmed, but heard that at one point they were playing 9-on-9. So EFA, come on, guys, like this is getting kind of wild right now. Again, Kingston Lions finished their season winless. Connecticut Tar Heels are also winless. So my prediction would be Gravediggers versus Demon Knights in a play-in game, and then the winner takes on the Bandits, who are now undefeated and beat everybody. So no sense in bye weeks and more just spreading out the inevitable, which is, getting rid of the teams that, quite frankly, can't get it together. Very sad. On the other side of the coin, the LAL, who absolutely went through their fair share of struggles this year, had 2 games on the docket for their semifinals. They had the East Penn Raiders versus New York Bears. Bears jumped out early and never looked back. Final score on that one was 28-0. Bears were 8.5-point favorite. They obviously covered that. The over-under was 45.5. Story in this one, Bears just had too many weapons. Offensive line for the Bears looked really good, by the way. Got to give a shout-out to those guys. They looked really good. Solid assignment football. And against the East Penn team that are usually a disciplined team and well-organized and such. And you really can't get away with making mistakes, which is what we thought going into the game. But the Bears just showed you who they are. So they advanced to the championship. They're the 1 seed. And next week we have, I think it's next week, the LAL championship game with the New York Bears looking for the 3-peat. So back-to-back LAL championships are on the line for them. 3-time champions in a row because they won the EFA 2 years ago. in what was the game of the week, not necessarily because it was Seminoles and Pharaohs, but more because everything else was so putrid. The Brooklyn Seminoles beat the Brooklyn Pharaohs. Seminoles, the story on this one, again, offensive line, but defense stood tall in this one. G Block with a touchdown run early. You saw some of that footage on Spin Move, Big Shot Spin Move, still doing this thing. The Pharaohs just couldn't get enough offense in at the end and come up short against the Seminoles. With this one, by the way, because somebody mentioned the over-under being 56.5, and that was the highest point over-under of the year, I believe. Because all you heard going into the season, and what we've seen throughout the season, is two high-powered offenses with the Brooklyn Seminoles and Brooklyn Pharaohs, and you figure that the weaknesses on both defenses was the secondary. Not in this one. 12-8 was the final score in this one, and the Seminoles advanced to the LAL championship game. So, what do we have now? Seminoles and Bears. This one should be a good one. Check this one out. The Seminoles and Bears played twice this year, and each of these games were not close, and neither one of the games were won by the same team. So it was a 24-point differential between the two in both games. The Seminoles won, I think it was 31-9, and then the other one was like 40-something to 20-something or something like that. So after splitting the season series, the rubber match comes up at the end, and you have Seminoles versus Bears. Now, where do we go from here? Well, if the Bears are able to complete the three-peat and move on, they're looking at punching their ticket to Nationals relatively early because of their record being undefeated, technically at this point. Their loss against the Sharks on the field. Will the committee, take that into account? You heard Crow yesterday on that one. They do allow a forfeit, but in terms of a forfeit loss being turned into a forfeit win coming from an on-field loss, not sure if the committee can ignore that. On the other side of the coin, with the Seminoles had a tougher time this year. They have a loss on their record, and their loss was pretty decisive. So, luckily, they lost. Yeah, they lost. Yeah, in my book, they lost too. So, on the other side of the coin, if the Seminoles win, and now they're looking at the Nationals picture, you heard Crow say, in order for them to get a primetime game, which Skip is always talking about, Speen is always talking about getting that primetime game, because they have had a lesser impressive regular season than they have in years past. Will they have to pick up a game, maybe entice the Bombers to come down from New England, or go up to the Bombers, because the Bombers have at this point, a better resume than the Seminoles. They might have to negotiate something in order to play them, or maybe play one of those Midwest teams before making the trip to Florida. So the track for the Seminoles to get to that national championship this year is going to be an interesting one. But again, I say that in a what-if scenario because I went through the scenario with the Bears as well. Do the Bears need to pick up a game or two? Probably so, because keep in mind, the Seminoles have an extra game because they're even. Just kidding. They're even because although the Seminoles did not play the Pharaohs the second time out of their home and home, so they were technically missing a game, they did pick up a game against the New Jersey Gravediggers, which does count on their record. But again, you saw Crow's response when I said, well, if the Seminoles picked up a win against the EFA team, or EFA team that could even be a championship team like a Bandits or a Gravediggers team, would that help their resume out. And he was kind of like, yeah. But then as he was like, yeah, I brought up, well, you have them at 2A. So that's a tough one. So, indeed. That is pretty much it. Again, make sure you tune in to PDF Network. They're going to have the replay of Way Too Early with Pat. Dave Pizzuto and those guys do an absolute great job. I'm going to have them run the conversation with Coach Crow on the replay today. And so you can see how that lines up. And that's kind of the next thing that we're looking forward to. Unfortunately, due to forfeits, the game's not being played in this overall raggediness, it's hard for the Northeast to, at least New York, New Jersey metro area, to state their claim to being the best. Bombers, still waiting what they're going to do. Bulls, still waiting what they're going to do. New England has that reputation of not really wanting to compete and kind of just taking their ball and going home, especially if it requires them to, get out of their backyard, pause, and, find some competition elsewhere. So we shall see. So for another episode of Way Too Early, Pat, I'll let you guys. Seminoles and Pharaohs. We'll talk about in a second. What up, Crow? How are you, sir?
As you can see, you woke me up this
Nicely.
early.
That's why it's way too early with Pat, sir.
What was happening, man?
Hey, man, what's going on? So what's going on once you get out of bed today? What's going on in the MLF
Nothing.
vault?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We're on a bye week.
Now, why is that? That for the 3 day. I don't. If I say
Yes.
Columbus Day, it
Yes.
offends people and such. Indigenous Peoples Day, we're taking off for the Native Americans.
Yeah. We're just. It was a good bye week. I usually do it every year. I do the fall this weekend just to give everybody a chance to reset. People don't like doing 8 games straight. So
Copy that. So who's at the top of the standings? I know the Sharks made their departure from the LAL, joined with you guys. They've been taking those trips. We've been seeing them with on the buses and taking the trips and stuff. They put belt to ass to one team down there. I'm assuming that they're at the bottom of the standings. Besides the Sharks, who are some of the top dogs that we have to look out for in the MLF fall?
So we have. I would like to say. So every league has its top and bottom. Let's not act like every league doesn't. So surprisingly enough, this year, well, not surprisingly, but the Cougars are at the bottom, but they're hard. They play hard. They show up, they play hard, they just lose, right? That's just what life is for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they're at the bottom. And then surprisingly, to my surprise, the Eagles are at the bottom too.
Mm.
Wasn't expecting that. They had a tough schedule and they just kept losing close games, and then they had one game where they didn't travel to the Sharks. That's the wrong game not to travel. It was weird. Um, they only showed up with 18 people, so they got beat down. But other than that, all the other games that they lost, they were all close games. So they just I don't know, I guess they don't know how to win yet. So they're them two on the bottom.
Now,
And
hold,
then
hold for 1 second. With the Eagles, could it be, especially you're big into social media in terms of advertising and having a presence when it comes to media and stuff like that? The Eagles do an excellent job
yeah.
with that type of stuff. Could that mean maybe you're not going to be overlooked by anybody and they kind of get everybody's like homecoming type efforts instead of, hey, look, it's just a team from Jersey?
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I mean, uh, every game they've played, they've actually pretty much played everyone's full roster. They haven't had one of those games where people didn't show up or wasn't taking them serious. So social media is great for your numbers, recruiting and whatnot, but also it can be a warning to show up full tilt. So, but again, I think it's just a fact of being a younger team. Their O line is massive. I saw them in person the other week. Their O line is like golly, but it just close games, and they just don't seem to win them.
I see. So who else? Who are you going to next on the standings? Go ahead.
Then I'm going to the top. So at the top of the standings, it's not even the Sharks. It's actually the Virginia Mustangs.
Okay.
So they're actually, I would say, the top team. Right now, I mean, they have some big wins over the Fayetteville Ducks. They got big wins over the Titans, a big win over the Titans. But everything has been pretty close, though. They played another out of league game against North Carolina Cardinals, was 18-10. So everything they've won, besides that game against the Knights, has been close.
All right. Now, what part of you said Virginia? They're at, right?
This Hampton Roads area, 757 Virginia Beach.
Copy that. Okay. Oh, they're known to play some football over there.
Yeah, they play. Yeah, they play a good brand of football.
Mhm.
They
And
play
then
a
who
good
else?
brand.
Who else you got?
And then you got the Spartans out of Richmond. They're 4-1. Once they get their offense together, they're going to be tough because their defense is pretty tough. But they're 4-1. And then a team in the middle of the pack that's good, but they've lost some close games would be the Titans. The Titans are a team you don't really want to see in the playoffs because they're when I like they took the Sharks to 22-14, gave them everything they can handle. And if the Titans can figure out how to win some close games because they are right there. They barely lost to the Mustangs. They barely lost. Everything's been within one touchdown. The games that they lost, everything's within six. I think 8 points was the biggest loss, and that was to the Sharks last week, and almost actually were moved the ball, had a fourth quarter touchdown, and just couldn't get. No one's mastered the onside, so. But yeah, they got a good go. So I think we have. I would say 4 teams. I can say if the ball bounces the right way, couple of lucky things could happen. They get hot that can win a championship, and then you got on the outskirts of are they a good team or did they get a couple lucky wins? You got the Assassins. They're not, they're there, but you still got the Eagles though. I mean, I feel the Eagles are a good team if they can just get hot.
Hmm.
You see, so like I said, I don't think the championship is already determined. Like right now, it seems like a collision course between the Mustangs and the Sharks, but you never know. Last year, the Mustangs were undefeated and lost in the championship game to a team they beat in the regular season by 24.
Woo.
So
Okay. I like
yeah,
that.
they
Right
were
up on.
playing. Yeah, they played the Baltimore Phantom, and Phantom kind of cruised through the season, ended up with a 500 record, got into the playoffs, and won all the
Ah.
road games.
Oh.
They say Crow needs some coffee.
All
Listen,
right.
you beat us in the championship. What?
You
4 years ago
you
now.
don't have to respond to him. You know that you don't have to respond to him. Man,
Listen,
look, it's man, look. Nonetheless,
it's
moving on.
yeah.
So, when is how many more weeks do we have until playoffs? I'm trying to go, especially my mom lives in Richmond, so I'd like to go down and check out a game because I've said this in the spring and you heard me say it. Like you really can't compare league to league or do like the whole nationals picture unless you've seen like boots on the ground, like what do these guys look like versus what do those guys look like? So how many more weeks of the season? When's playoffs and championship? And where's the championship at?
We got 3 more weeks of the season. Championship is scheduled for Baltimore. Matter of fact, I had to check on that on Tuesday. Hopefully, the permit came through, but it's scheduled for Baltimore, so that's where we're looking to be. So once I'll check on. Hopefully, the permit comes through Tuesday. You'll see me announce it if it does. But we're looking at Baltimore, and we got 2 dates. We got crap, the 22nd or the 15th, one or the other. Depends on how to, or is it the 15th? One of those 2 weekends. Just depends on
All right.
the
Well, I'm
final.
in Aberdeen on the 22nd, so I might swing by. There you go.
Yeah. Well, if you're in Aberdeen, yeah, Baltimore right there. So you can
There
just
you go.
head on down. Head on down. So that's the goal. So we're gonna see um how it all pans out. And when it comes to playoff structure, we're actually going to have a meeting on Monday to finalize it. So I don't want to put it out there yet, but it's going to be 4 or 6.
Hmm.
Um, So I got plans if we do 4. I got plans if we do 6. But I kind of let the owners kind of have a say in it, just because they're the ones playing the games, paying the money. So
Amen to that. I've always been a proponent of whatever your playoff structure is, get it hashed out before the season starts in the interest of fairness. But I lost Crow. But being that the landscape has changed in so many leagues from 2 weeks before the season starts to literally right as the season starts, so many times, I'm starting to rethink that one because it's a tough one. Can we get him back?
okay, that was good. My bad.
There you go. So I was literally just saying, hey, there are times in which I've said in the past, I'm like, whatever the playoff structure is, like knock it out before the season even starts. Like everybody agree, put the location out there because everybody argues at the end. However, being that in so many leagues that the landscape of the league itself has changed from 2 weeks prior to kickoff to literally 2-3 weeks after kickoff, it's impossible to do. So I'm starting to rethink.
Yeah. So I've learned, because I've ran the leagues for years. I've learned that unless you have like 16 or so teams, if you're around that 10 region, just kind of have 2 outlines ready to go, and then you pick from the 2 that you have kind of laid out. And
Right.
that's kind of how I do it. So I have 2 laid out. I had those 2 from the get go. Now it's just all about talking about
Like the
which way we
logistics.
want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we go 6, obviously, you'll have the first round buys and the games through. If we go 4, what I'm going to do is take the bottom 2, because I run the national tournament and kind of start the national tournament with them and kind of roll it through that way. So it's just, giving teams opportunities to, have some type of playoff structure. It just depends on which way the owners want to go. Doesn't
Gotcha.
make me no difference. But um, this, when we came into the season, I said, we're gonna have 2 paths to try to make it to nationals. It just depends on which path works best for the league. So that's where we're at. We're gonna talk about it on Monday.
Makes sense. All right. So now you mentioned the national picture, and you're the Nationals guy. So whether it's
One of
the
them.
one of
One
them,
of them.
okay, gotcha. One of the national guys. Um, so oftentimes you get too much credit, and oftentimes you get too much blame one way or another. Right? That comes with the territory. So let me ask the tough questions real quick.
Okay.
How has league size in terms of number of teams drastically changing over the last couple of years changed the Nationals landscape? Because specifically the LAL is a 4-team league. The EFA is a 5-team league, and the teams between the EFA and the LAL have competed with one another. And the AAA, AA thing, where it seems to be the standard seems to be lowered. Talk to
So
me.
great question. So we have a list. Um, and I shared it. I haven't shared it this year, but I'll go ahead and share it again. So we
Mhm.
have a list of things that we kind of for 2A, 3A, and how we qualify each league. The LAL, and we were just talking about this in our last national meetings last week, it's an enigma, right? Because all 4 teams, in my opinion, from what I've seen of the 4 teams with my own eyes, um, have been 3A, and like they've never not been 3. I think the Pharaoh started off as 2A, but that's clearly a upper echelon team
Yes,
in the
correct. They
grand
they
scheme of
they
things.
started off as 2A just because they started off as a junior pro team.
Right.
So they graduated up the ranks. And to tell you the truth, in such an efficient way, other teams really need to kind of do that. To tell you
Follow
the truth,
that model.
I think like years in, and if there was more leagues that catered to the 2A and more leagues that actually catered to junior pro, then we would have a lot more teams out in the landscape in general. But go ahead.
So so that's a great point, and I'm gonna get back to that. I like that point. Um, so LAL is an enigma. So we do have a write up. We do have a pattern that actually covered, believe it or not. When you're a 3A league with a bunch of 3A teams, but our smaller league what we encourage is you do the crossover games. You see my league do it all the time.
Yes, you do.
We've had 6 or 7 crossover games this season with the CFA, the league down in North Carolina, with some of our teams, and that's where you can get that cross-functional play. You can play other
Midwest did
games.
it. Shout out to Duncan. He did it big this year when it came to the scathlon.
Yeah, right. So, and we did it as well. Like I said, the Virginia Mustangs played the Ducks and the Spartans, and we our league has had those big games. When you don't have those big games because of whatever reason, and you just stay within that small league, we also encourage you to do a tournament and or some other cross. Just get out of your region,
Mm-hmm.
because how can you be a national champion if you don't ever play nobody outside of 35, 45 minutes from
Yes.
you,
Now, in that
right?
case, I'm shooting toward New England on that one because the ECFL champion not playing the NEFL champion to me is like crazy, and they do
It's
it every
crazy.
single year.
It's crazy work, and it happens. Um, But so we try to encourage that. Now, again, you don't have to do anything at the national level. We just give you some suggestions. We have the write up. But then if you do none of those things and then you end up with a game that you're not really wanting, then you can't, I'm not mad at you. You're not mad at me. Now, here's a
Now,
different stuff.
your catchphrase is win more games. I would just kind of tailor that a little bit and say, hey, get a better resume.
Right. I'm gonna add that.
Yeah, get a
What's your
better resume.
resume like? What's your resume like? But
Yeah, what's your resume like? I mean,
yeah, but
resume matters. It does.
I will say this. This is a big thing though. In this summer, in the summer fall season, which we're in now, it's I wouldn't say harder, but it becomes more of a tax to ensure those happens because in the spring, we are the only nationals going on, right? You may have a bowl game here or there where folks can get into, but for the most part, we're the only thing people have going on. So it's easier to enforce it. You see more uh, champion versus champion, this, that, and the third. In the summer, fall, yes, there's more teams from across the country, but there's 2 other bowl systems as well. So those 2 other bowl systems have different criteria. There we go. They have different criteria that they go by. So their criteria doesn't really hinge on your resume. It kind of hinges on what your more so on popularity and what's going to make the best games for their event.
Right.
I'm not mad at either one. It's just we don't do things that way. That's all. It's just a difference.
Understood. Understood. So we got
Yes, you get.
Pharaohs and Knowles today. So
Yeah,
now between the two of them, even if one of them does get out of the LAL as the champion, based on the teams essentially just playing the same 3 teams twice, and then maybe just maybe one from a double A league, since the EFA is technically double A. Is there a path for the Knowles or the Pharaohs to get to the national championship game?
yeah, I think so. I was talking to uh, who called me yesterday. I think Mel called me on behalf of the Nose yesterday. It was Mel, yeah.
Oh man, Cats is good. They're coming, please already.
No, 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 not common please. He's basically just
That
asked
means
what
they're
is it
coming,
that,
please.
in my opinion, what do I feel they need to do? There's a couple different paths to kind of like show people, you can join the tournament, which I don't think they should do. They can get a champion versus champion, which I think will be very hard to do, just because this thing will be hard to do. Just for the Knowles, it's just the Knowles. Maybe the Pharaohs will have better luck, but for the Knowles, it's Skip's fault. Love you, Skip. But Skip just talks about people so bad. It's gonna be hard.
It's hard to take anybody serious, right? But see now, if the
Yeah.
EFA was AAA and EFA champion would play LAL champion, that's another AAA champion on
Right.
your resume.
Yeah, it's a good resume builder, but for the Knowles or the Pharaohs, I would say this is just me talking. This is not me talking to the board or getting their opinion. I would say do play somebody out of area And I'm not talking DC, right? Because that's easy to do. I'm not talking New England. Play somebody from the Midwest,
Ooh,
like before, right?
before. Okay.
Right. Play somebody from the South. See if you can get one of them, maybe a Tennessee. Get somebody to show that, hey, yeah, we had some screwy league stuff, right? It happens. Um, but we're still who we are. Here's this game, another champion or someone, just somebody out of area away from New York,
Gotcha.
because everything can't be at Kings Bay, right?
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay. What about the
Get
NEFL champion?
the NEFL champion, the unit has been out of. Nah, I would play somebody from the same uh time of year too.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. No, not NEAFL. NEFL. New England Football League.
Oh yeah, that's not a. That, I would. Yeah. That wouldn't be bad. I mean, that wouldn't be bad. But see, here's the thing. I feel like that league, from what I'm seeing, had a better time as far as their season was going. Too
They
though. They had
definitely
low.
did. They
Yeah,
definitely
they
did.
had. Yeah, they had. You
It's
know what
tough.
I would.
It's tough replacing the Admirals and the Shamrocks. It definitely
Yeah,
was. But people are now getting used to the Bombers now being that
that team.
team. Right.
But
So,
I I would say, now this is just me talking. Now people don't realize New York State is freaking huge. So a Brooklyn versus Lockport game would be explosive
God, yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed.
because people say, "Oh, they're both New York," but Buffalo is 8 hours away from Brooklyn.
Yeah, you can get to North Carolina before you can get to some of
Yeah,
those areas of
if you
upstate.
remember, that is a different region, Western New York.
Yeah.
So, that's more Western New York is more like Midwest. So, um,
So
I
last question, right? And
what
I'll let you get to your day started. Last question. Um, New York Patriots, you're familiar with them because that was my team, and we've had conversations about resumes and such. I built an independent schedule one year. I sent you the independent schedule, and I ended up qualifying for the Sunshine Bowl for the spring, right? My
okay.
question to you would be, should teams do those type of things because leagues have shown an inability to be able to give you a solid schedule? So like if I just run like does Notre Dame have a better shot with you than a team coming out of the ACC?
So let's talk about it. So you did that year, right? I
Mhm.
just did that this year because the GDFL fell apart. And let me tell you something. It's a hard thing to do because we had an independent slash league schedule with the TPFL, but there was no other 3A teams. And every time we went to go play a championship game, shit fell apart. So that's the issue you run into when you go independent and you got to have some light at the end of the tunnel. So it's a great path if you can end up in a tournament or some type of bowl game before uh, uh, the Sunshine Bowl. You want to cap that season and say, okay, now we're into something different. So it's a great path to go down. It's just, can you cap that season?
I think to tell you the truth, teams are not going to go down that path because they're just scared to do it. And not scared like, oh my God, I'm going to get beat, but just it's a lot of work. So, like, the big thing for me was getting a resume together where teams are willing to say, well, this team is coming to me or I'm going to that team. And there's nothing on the line in terms of league record, right? So
Right.
you have to have a reputation. That's the first thing, right? So the
Well, yeah,
teams
I wouldn't do it if you wasn't a reputable team. Like I can do it. You were able to do it. Somebody just mentioned the Cincinnati Dukes did it. This is their second year doing it. They did it the year before, so it works. It's just where does that
you
cap?
end up with better organizations going to the
Hmm.
Sunshine Bowl because they had built their resume off of being trustworthy enough. Because you're not going to have my team at your house if we act a fool. You're not going
No,
to have my
no,
team at your
no,
house if we're
no.
not going to show up or do other semi-pro type things.
So to have a spot for X amount of independent games, I think you talk about resume matters. Hey, look, I have 4 or 5 teams on my schedule that just on the strength of my word play football and are we compete against. I think that speaks volumes. And then the
Yeah,
other
like
part,
I said, so
right?
for the summer, fall, we can cap the season because we have the tournaments and the Dirty Bowl. For the spring, it's harder because there's not a lot of time between the end of the season and the event. So that's where you run into issues in the spring going independent. But if you do it summer, fall, we can cap that season with the
But what if
tournament.
you penalize teams that play the same team twice, even if it's in their own league?
I don't think we penalize for that. I don't think there's a penalty for that because if you look at
Because
division
if you're
schedules,
in the LAL, right, and you're just playing the same 3 teams twice, come on, like,
so okay, for example, you got the
I mean,
LA.
but a third time is absurd, and I've seen 3 times, like Oklahoma City Bears, their schedule is insane, absolutely
Right.
insane.
So stuff like that is insane. But for example, if you're like, for example, a couple years back, I had the MLF in the spring, and we had like 20. We had a bunch of teams, or was it the ECFA? One of those leagues. I can't remember. We did it by divisions, so you play each division opponent twice. So if it's something like that, if that is that type of structure, then everything is Gucci because that's just the structure of the league. But if it's because you can't get those crossover games because your commissioner's ass or the teams are not trustworthy or something like that, then that
Right.
creates an issue. So it's why did you play a team 3 times? It's because your divisions, how you do divisions, you just end up playing them again in the playoffs, or it's because you couldn't get crossover games. Those things, believe it or not, we find out. We find that out pretty easy,
Right.
believe it or
Now,
not, because
I said it was last question, but I have a last question. Promise you.
okay, cool.
The
Last,
fact that
last.
the Nobles and the Pharaohs did not play their second scheduled game because they were going to play 3 times in a row, 3 weeks in a
Mhm.
row, is that going to hurt whoever comes out of there if they end up being the champion?
Well, it's going to hurt them in the sense of there's going to be down one less game. So remember, I keep telling people this. This is a great question, and I'm glad you asked it.
Appreciate
There's other
it.
great football being played throughout the country. Everybody thinks their brand is the best, right? No one thinks their brand sucks, right? So if you ask Duncan, because we both know Duncan, my team played this, my team's played that. He's going to sell his brand as best he can, right? And
Duncan
then
thinks he's the SEC and everybody else is
you're
swag.
right,
Yeah.
right. But if you go out to the folks out in Cali and the CFCA, they're going to tell you we got the best thing smoking in the country. And if you got to go to Dell in North Carolina, hey, I got the Fayetteville Ducks and I got the Predators, and everybody's going to say think their brand is better, right? So that's where you're having a great board of 10 to 12 minds of some of these people who are even selling their brand coming together and talking real football,
What
right?
is the minimum game requirement for nationals for the summer?
So this is great. And you got some good questions today, Dave.
I,
Um,
I, I can't claim that one. Sean Kelman in the comments asked that one.
so if you're at the three A level, right now, there's exceptions, right? We do waivers, we use some common sense, but on paper, to have the best shot, you want to have at least 11. You want to at least have that national championship be your 12th game, right? Right. You now. There's always some issues, but we
And
if
you
you look
can't
at
do that with a 14 league, bro.
you can't. That's my point. That's why I told them they're going to need to do. We just went over that,
It
right? We
needs
just
some
went over
work.
that.
Yeah. Yep.
We just went over that, right?
Mhm.
So you're going to want to do something a little additional to kind of make that resume pop a little bit. Um, but you want to have on the 3A level, you want to be close to that 12 game mark. But I always say the closer you get to 15, the more undisputed it looks. And then when you're at the 2A level, we say 10 games.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we say 10 games at the 2A level because, and logically speaking, we know that the 2A level, there may be a one or two additional forfeits. And when I say games played, right? Not you won 6 games on the field and the other 6 were forfeits, because we only give you credit at the national level for one forfeit. One.
There it is. All
So
right.
only get credit for one of those. So if you got about 4 or 5 forfeits and you got 6 wins on the field, we're only counting 7 wins.
That part.
So, and I'm even critical of my team, because if you look at my team, on paper we're 9-2, but we had 2 games where the teams didn't show whatever. It was a lot of bullshit. You can count those 2 as forfeits,
Gotcha.
but I can't count those. Can't count those, right? I'm even critical on myself. I don't ask nobody to do something with their team or put stipulations. I'm critical of my guys first, which they really are pissed about that, but that's just what life is. Um, right? So, like for us, we have to do more work, right? Because we are at 7-2 for real, for real. Um, so we got to get some more games. We got to get 3 more games before, or at least 2 more games before we, say we're gonna go to Miami. So we got to make that happen. So we gonna make that happen.
All right, so you heard it from the man himself. I'm sorry, a man who leads other men and possibly women in the nationals region and such, and to make sure that's fine. I appreciate you spending some time with us, Crow. Anything else before we leave?
Um, at my left lead, we're at the competition. We gonna get to coming to a field near you. Capital City Seahawks. We start back up camp in November, so that's what we doing. And then shout out to the Sunshine Bowl board and all the fans community. And then shout out to you, Dave. Man, you up early with it on a Saturday, but shout out to you, bro. Keeping active. I know you don't have your team no more. What's that like, man? I don't know what retirement look like. He left. I don't know where he went. But shout out to everybody, man, and this big ups. We should be coming out with those first summer fall rankings soon. Shout out to the National Bowl. Oh my God! Shout out to Austin and Mark and that crew and the NSBE. I think if I'm getting to do some good stuff with them, and just shout out to everybody, man. We gonna keep it. We gonna keep it funky. Yeah, he definitely frozen. So I'm trying not to get off because then his show will go black. But man, shout out to everybody, man. Got me up early in the morning, get my life together here, man. I ain't brushed my teeth yet, but anyway.